Nist Special Publication 800-37. And just like with 800-53, I will suggest you download this now. In this lecture, we're going to be covering both Revision 1 and Revision 2. And there are a couple of reasons why I choose to cover both the revisions. Revision 1 was published in February of 2010, and it was updated in June 2014, so it is some years ago. Revision 2 was published in December 2018, which means it is obviously the most current. But the exam was updated prior to that. So technically, there shouldn't be any Revision 2 questions on the exam, but I also believe they do add questions to the question pool on an ongoing basis. So just to be sure, I'm going to cover both. And just like we did with 800-53, we're going to cover this at a very high level. And the Nist publications, like so many other government publications, have really long and convoluted names. I actually don't think I've ever worked with anyone who referred to them by their full name. I have only ever heard them referred to as Nist 800-37 or just 800-37. But the full name for Revision 1 is Guide for Applying the Risk Management Framework to Federal Information Systems, a Security Lifecycle Approach. And the Revision 2 name is Risk Management Frameworks for Information Systems and Organizations, a System Lifecycle Approach for Security and Privacy. And I again don't think there are going to be specific questions on this or that revision, but the different revisions of 800-37 and 800-53 are closely tied together, so the one Nist standard will reference the other. And remembering back to 800-53, if you remember the three-tiered system or the pyramid-looking thing we had, where Tier 1 is the organization, Tier 2 is mission and business processes, and then Tier 3, where we found 800-53, was our information systems. And that was where we had the 6-step process that we used for our risk management lifecycle. 800-53 was Step 2, 800-37, which we're covering now, is Step 5. And that is where we authorize our information systems. And with the different Nist updates, it obviously makes sense. I mean, some of them are 4, 5, 6 years old. The IT landscape and IT security landscape has changed a lot since then. So Nist updates the standards. And with the 800-37 Revision 2, we still have the same 6 steps, but we also have a step in the middle, looking like this, that is Prepare. And that is a critical step because this is also where we get senior management on board. These are the 7 major objectives that were updated in Revision 2, and easily broken down, the first one provides a closer linkage and communication between the risk management processes and the C-suite or the governance level of our organization and the people, the processes, and the activities on the operational level of the organization, meaning executive management and the board have full buy-in into the process, and there is that two-way communication to ensure that what we do is the right thing to do. Then we improve the risk management process by having it across the entire enterprise, which should hopefully make it more effective, more efficient, and more cost-effective. Then we're going to look a little bit at NIST cybersecurity framework and how that can be aligned with our risk management framework and implemented using the risk processes. And then one of the new big things on Revision 2, we integrate privacy risk management processes into the risk management framework. That did not exist on Revision 1 at all. It did exist in 800-53, but never in 800-37. Then we also align with NIST Special Publication 800-160, where we develop trustworthy secure software and systems by aligning the entire lifecycle of the systems with the engineering processes in that publication. Then it touches on supply chain risk management, which I think you need to understand it's there, but not really any more than that. And then it allows our organization to implement controls that would benefit us as well to complement the traditional baseline, and it integrates a little more with NIST 800-53. And to simplify all these, better communication and linkage with senior management all the way down through the organization make the risk management process more efficient, more effective, and cost-effective. We align this with the NIST cybersecurity framework. It has some privacy protection. We implement security throughout the entire lifecycle of any system or any software, meaning security is a requirement and privacy as well in the initial design and the specifications we need for a certain software, for instance. and it is required through the entire lifecycle until we get rid of the system or the software. And as mentioned on 800-53, the older versions were to a large extent built for government organizations and contractors that wanted to do business with them. But the actual use is much more than that. Obviously, the government and their contractors still need to adhere to the full standard. But many private businesses that do not do business with the federal government still implement parts of the standard, and they then use tailoring or scoping to match what they need. And this was the cybersecurity framework I was talking about earlier. And as you can see, slightly different faces, but they are really no different than what we have looked at already. We identify our assets, we put protection in place for those assets, we detect whenever there's an attack or the asset is compromised, then we respond to that, and then we recover. And I would also suggest downloading the Cybersecurity Framework version 1.1. And then each of those 5 categories would again have subcategories. If we start by looking at Identify, then you can see it has Asset Management, Business Environment, Governance, Risk Assessment, Risk Management Strategies, and Supply Chain Risk Management. And then each of those areas drill down into even more detail. And it references all the frameworks that they suggest you use for that specific phase. So if we look at Identify and Asset Management, you can see this has even more subcategories. So IDAM1 is our physical devices and systems that are within the organization. 2 is the software platforms and the applications within our organization. And then 4, for instance. 4 is our cloud computing. If we have any cloud computing, any software as a service, any infrastructure as a service, or whatever else we use in the cloud. And remember, there is no cloud. It's just someone else's computer somewhere else. So the cybersecurity framework is really that connecting link that ties all the other applications together. So if we looked at cloud computing, number 4, it has a specific reference to the other publications where they touch on that specific topic. So that could be CIS CSE 12, or COVID 5, or ISO 27001, or Nist 800-53. And 800-37 might, just like 800-53, seem overwhelming, but it really has so much detail that makes it incredibly easy for us to do what we need to, as opposed to going out and doing it all for ourselves. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. And on 800-37 and on the cybersecurity framework, they have all the references, they have the glossary, and they have the abbreviations, just like 800-53 did. And the same final general reminder that I gave you in the last lecture, go download it now. Alright, let's move on.